Ewing Young went to California with some funds raised from here and there, purchased 700 cows, and 600 of those 700 cows survived the Indians in the lower part of the state and the struggles of the trail. In the coastal counties, since they had harbors, there were opportunities to make butter and or cheese and export it out the bay to San Francisco and the growing population in California, or north to the Klondike and other locations of gold strikes in the late 1890s.
Bandon, Port Orford, Coos Bay, and Reedsport all held one thing in common. They were natural ports back in the old days. And you had all these manufacturing operations that sprouted up along these rivers. You had stern wheel riverboats, and they picked up milk from small dairy farms that inhabited the bottomland. On the Coquille River at one time, there were 18 different plants. The milk was either brought in by a horse and wagon or by these river boats. And the product in the early days was shipped down to Bandon, and they'd pick up butter, cheese, and lumber also. Everything went to San Francisco.
But they weren't at that time prepared for the more complex process of converting milk into cheese. So the focus was on butter. That led to, by 1910, the need for a trade association that would work on the improvement of Oregon butter quality. There was a Department of Dairying at Oregon State as of about 1899. Professor F.L. Kent was head of the department. He traveled in 1899 to take a survey of the western part of the state. How many creameries, what were their opportunities, what were their limitations and shortcomings. There were limitations with butter, the lack of refrigeration. So they thought, let's try to make cheese, and cheddar cheese would have been the cheese of choice. There was maybe a competition back then between Coos County and Tillamook County. Probably from image standpoint at least, Tillamook County won the battle. But it was not until they brought a credible cheesemaker from eastern Canada, Peter McIntosh, who taught them how to make cheddar cheese with better methods. Eventually there were 37 factories, organized as a cooperative, shared information, were concerned about milk quality. But the main thing they did, they hired a man they all admired, spoke with authority. They hired him as cheese inspector. So he inspected the quality of the milk, the making methods, the follow-through, and so on. And that sufficiently improved the quality of Tillamook cheese. It brought a higher price. They competed well in commerce. Many, many years ago, I heard that they were the most successful dairy cooperative in North America.
So a creamery is a real basis of a community.
Creameries were always in the center of towns. Eugene Farmers Creamery in Eugene and the Metal Gold plant in Eugene were right in the center of town. People brought their cans of cream and milk.
Eventually the town would hate it. It was clanging cans and noisy and up at 3 in the morning and working all night. There were easily 10 creameries in Springfield and Eugene. Oregon was full of them. Now it's skimmed down to just very few.
My Lord, there used to be a little dairy over 2 miles down the road, and now there's almost none. And if it is, it's a large dairy. And I guess nothing's forever, is it?
My dad was a dairy farmer whose bad luck during the Depression occurred when milk prices fell in half and his debt did not go down. He already had established a small route in town, and so he sold the cows and moved to town. And I grew up running the bottle washer and all the little small town dairy things, delivering milk to homes door to door.
I had 3 brothers. and we got home from World War II. We saw in Longview there was a chance to get in over there. Standard Dairy was up for sale. As time went along, we bought the other two plants in Longview and merged it all together.
Our home was in Tillamook. My dad had Poole's Dairy there, where we bottled milk and made ice cream. And you'd make batches of 10 gallons at a time. Today, that wouldn't be much of a start. My dad sold out to the Tillamook County Creamery, and that's when they went into the ice cream business. Poole's ice cream, and then it was Tillamook ice cream.
Just making yogurt in 1970 was unusual, and that people said, why do you want to make yogurt? Where's that ever going to go? Now, Chuck firmly believed that cultured dairy products were the exciting wave of the future, that we could make a living doing that, and it would be a good thing.
And it evolved from there into what's now probiotics, from the wisdom of Oregon State professors that were cutting edge. Elliker in particular was just a champion of it.
Dr. Elliker and then Dr. Stein and Dr. Sandine were all forerunners in what has become probiotics. At that time it was just acidophilus and good bacteria.
All the sheep owners in the valley knew that if you wanted to raise a good sheep and have a long life, you gave them immediately acidophilus. We barely knew that humans ate this stuff. This was a little scary. And no one was putting it in yogurt.
I had been making yogurt at home, and so Chuck said, let's try making your yogurt down here. And we added acidophilus to it. People really responded to it. You know, they realized that digestion is a cornerstone of good health, and that these organisms, these friendly bacteria, are very critical. From the very beginning, it has tried to improve the quality of dairy products that the Oregon creameries produce.
There's research comparing milk quality among different states, and Oregon ranks right in the top among the dairy producing states. Probably in part because of the work that Floyd Bodyfeld did for many years in milk quality. You know, our farmers have a pretty good sense of how to produce really clean and good quality milk.
Well, there was a big push to increase the shelf life of fluid milk, and we used the OSU dairy plant as a laboratory for that. Dr. Elliker and Dr. Sandine were doing research on what sanitizers worked best, which ones didn't, publishing research.
We've gone from the old cream can receiving on the back of the old wagon, wooden churns, to aluminum barrel churns, to the state-of-the-art continuous churns, where cream is pasteurized, crystallized in the silo, continuously flowed through a churn that makes wonderful high-quality butter, then into state-of-the-art packaging machines. The technology in the packaging hasn't changed through the years. It's all still in a lot of the same shapes and forms, but the quality of the product has increased tremendously. You can give a lot of credit back to ODI and the university and the wonderful dairy farmers in the state of Oregon and throughout the Northwest for producing outstanding quality milk. They do a phenomenal job.
More and more research shows that green grass means good quality milk. So just the fact that many of our cows are grazing, not all of them, but a larger percentage than, let's say, if we go south of the border here. And that means we have higher quality milk because there's more fatty acids that have been found to have anti-carcinogenic properties and so on.
In 1996, when the American Dairy Science Association meeting was in Corvallis, and I was interested in trying to demonstrate where the quality of Oregon dairy products and milk quality was with other states. First part of the information I needed was from USDA. They showed and reported that the lowest somatic cell count, or white blood cell count, in the raw milk supply of all the states in the U.S. was Oregon. And earlier we had worked with the legislature and the industry to make more stringent standards for the somatic cell or the body cell count in raw milk. So we had this competition with our neighbors, sometimes with Washington, sometimes with California, who could, in a simple leap, improve the quality of the milk at a faster pace. We'd have to say that the West was the leader in this advance of more aggressive quality standards.
The quality has dramatically increased. Today, the producer, farmer, delivers to the processing plant better milk with lower standard plate counts than what went out of the processing plant 30 years ago.
It could be construed that we would have a contentious relationship. After all, I'm a regulator. We're all working towards a mutual goal, and they have the attitude that the inspector can help you stay out of trouble. All you have to do is become part of the solution. We've had administrators in the past, from Ron McKay to Jim Black, who have all been strongly associated with the dairy industry, and it shows when FDA or USDA goes into our dairy processing plants. They are clearly heads and shoulders above many other of our neighboring states, and it's because, I think, of our relationship, a cooperative relationship, that they are willing to do whatever it takes to be the best, and then subsequently they wind up being the best.
OSU had a very nice functioning dairy plant. About 30 years ago it was closed down, but it was such a great training facility, and most of the people who worked in the dairy industry in Oregon, and even to a certain degree in Washington, got their training with Floyd Bodefeld at OSU.
We rebuilt the creamery in 1965-66, modernized it. And then in 1969, the president of the university and another administrator, for whatever reasons, mainly they felt that universities should not compete with private enterprise, they closed the creamery.
The facility was slowly falling into pieces, basically, and being used as a storage facility. I spent a year there studying cheese production, and especially raw milk cheese making, and trying to understand the safety systems that were put in place to keep these cheeses safe. Then coming back and realizing we needed to have a functioning dairy plant. So thanks to a large part to ODI that have put money into helping me remodel the pilot plant and get some new equipment, we now have a nice facility. People can come in, make dairy products, and then sell them and get the business started that way. They get a chance before they invest all the money needed to start up a dairy plant to see if they even want to do it, if they can make good quality dairy products. We have the students come in just on their own for fun. They make their dairy products, especially cheese and ice cream. That's really important to make the kids motivated about careers in dairy. If they like making their products, it's much more likely that they'll apply for a job with a dairy company.
And Lyle had a real dedication to ODI, and I think he developed that dedication with ODI through his relationship with Oregon State University. They had a very good working relationship with the Dairy and Food Science department there. Lyle was a real supporter in helping build the class space. Withicum Hall, I believe, was the name of the building.
We hired, I think, 6 of the trainees from Oregon State. They were some of the best employees we ever had. They could pasteurize, they could make ice cream, they could make butter, they could make cheese. They knew it all, and they were adaptable. Roy Stein and Floyd were real meticulous in training these people. As soon as they graduated, there were jobs available for them, and we were fortunate to get that many.
My earlier graduate student career, I'd taken on the task of starting up and coaching a judging team which competed in a local contest in Portland each fall. The glory was going national. Oregon Dairy Industries were the primary supporter of funding for that. You get some support from the national sponsors of the contest, but the majority of it has to come from your local industry.
Collegiate judging team was near and dear to Tony's heart. Supported it financially. If the team wanted a venue to do some judging, he opened up the dairy's facilities to do that. But he was always at the conference where the judging happened and was there to give the team support. But I think the most important function that he performed was in raising awareness for the importance of the judging team and hoping that all those kids that were on it became successful in the dairy industry.
Within 8 years, my teams lost first place in Montreal, Canada by a fraction of a point. We had good students and good luck and good fortune.
The ODI supported Floyd so much, they took me in as part of the family and supported Washington State just as much as they did Oregon State. Tony and Oscar Larson, and they just put their arms around all of us kids, one big happy family from the Northwest, and we were out against the rest of the country.
What returned to them over the years was the knowledge that came out of the university in manufacturing quality products. And that's the real key for all of us in this industry, is to use the ODI and Oregon State University to develop flavorful, wholesome quality products.
Technology can change and all sorts of things can change, but the thing that won't change is the need to bring wholesome, healthy food to market. And all the kids who graduate in the program will probably never be without a job, being part of a really an important and necessary and good, wholesome industry.
The big change in the dairy industry is there used to be a lot of little ones, and now there's a few big ones.
The valley at one time in the early 50s had 150 dairy farms. Today, there are 12.
In Portland, I think there were 92 dairies before the war, and they were all merged and bought up until there were only about 6 or 8 major dairies.
40 years ago, there were a lot of little creameries, local, and produced enough milk for who was around them. And slowly those little creameries have died off. The bigger co-ops were more efficient, and they could sharpen their pencils better. Our little creamery realized that we had to do something unique, or we were probably going to die out too.
We closed the Standard Dairy in 1983. A lot of the independent dairies closed their doors. And some of the big chains did also. Seemed like conditions changed drastically then.
The independent dairies that are left alive here, I think that's really due to two things: the work of ODI and then also Quality Check, which most of the independents are a member of, which have helped these small creameries survive the mergers and takeovers.
Quality Check has been a great thing for us to be part of. Quality Check has very stringent quality standards for the dairies. You have to submit products every month for analysis. You get annual audits, focusing with your employees on GMPs and food safety and biosecurity, HACCP, whatever it is.
Oregon is unique in the U.S. in the fact that we still have a number of locally controlled dairies. You don't have to go to Chicago or Dallas to get a decision made.
There are so many small dairy farmers still in Oregon, and when you operate a small dairy, you're closer to the animals and your people. And then taking it to the next level up, there are so many small dairy processors in Oregon. We're unique that way.
One of the things here in Oregon too is the diversity. There's more yogurt companies in Oregon than I think just about anywhere. You know, we're seeing the micro cheese. Oregon's a real hot spot for that. Oregon, compared to other states, has always seemed to be focused more on diversity and the individual creameries. For, like, you go up to Washington, nobody makes ice cream in Washington anymore except for Safeway. You know, they've shrunk in the number of products they produce. Idaho, same way. You know, Oregon's expanding out in products, and the other states seem to be shrinking.
And that's where really ODI comes in and facilitates all of the different needs, all the different products that are being made in Oregon. It's amazing. If people knew how many different ice cream brands are being made, I mean, it's incredible. They started producing more and more milk. They liked the dairying side of things. And then in 1965 decided, we're tired of selling all of our milk and not knowing where it's going. We want to be part of the whole process. We want to raise the cows, put the milk into a bottle too, and we want to sell it. They built the bottling plant here in Junction City. The same day, opened up 5 Dairy Mart stores. We've grown it from those 5 stores and just bottling milk to 43 stores in Lynn Lane and Benton counties. The stores are convenience stores, but then they also carry our full line of dairy products, juice, and then all of our ice cream products. And all the other ice creams that we make, such as Coconut Bliss. We also make ice cream, a super premium, and that goes to Australia and Singapore and China. Worked for many months to get into China, but broke into that market with this product, and there's a scoop shop. So we make, all of that comes from Little Junction City.
Some of the lost art in making dairy products has disappeared with the emergence of new technology. And I think that's one reason why some of the farmstead cheeses are coming back. People remember what things used to taste like, and they want that flavor profile back. So coming to ODI can help us capture that also in pulling the resources from some of the old timers that are out there, and they can tell us, you know, what is that supposed to taste like?
I think the cheese making is going to go the same way as the wine industry. We right now have about 400 wineries in Oregon, and I imagine we could easily have